welcome back to the Homestead. I'm filming this on Saturday, March 30th, but I probably won't be able to upload it until tomorrow, which will be Easter Sunday. And I'm coming to you just a little bit salty, very concerned. President Biden has just declared the most sacred day for Christians, which is Easter Sunday. He has declared it a national day, a transgender day of visibility. You guys, let me remind you, there is 365 days in a calendar year. And for them to be doing that on the holy day, on the day of Easter, the day that we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, is a very militant and in-your-face desecration. It is an offense to Christians really worldwide. I want to remind you that America is the great country that it is, or at least the country that it was, because of our Judeo-Christian values. We were one nation that was set up under God. It was a nation where its Constitution and its Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence, I mean, you find God in all of those documents. Our first president covenanted with God that we will serve you as you bless us. And the result of that great covenant, that great American covenant, is we became the greatest nation on earth. And now, obviously, we are a nation in massive decline. So to declare this sacred day something to be other than what it is just a very brazen way of politicians getting in the way of the values that made this country great. As I look at the current leaders, none of the greatness that is remaining of America is as a result of them. You know, they are just the ones that are spending us into oblivion. So I look at massive crises going on right now. We're in an inflation mess. Every single one of you that's been to the store in the last year and a half have noticed that your dollar does not go far. So we have this inflation mess. We have geopolitical messes all over. You know, we have Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, that's pending, but that's coming up. We have barges running into bridges. We have like a breakdown of critical infrastructure. You know, as we look at what Pete Buttigieg has presided over, when we had the supply issues, and then we had the train derailment in Ohio, and then we have this bridge catastrophe. I mean, if you think that a Secretary of Transportation, that a government official is going to be able to solve these problems, you're wrong. What we are seeing right now, besides just blatant corruption and evil at the highest echelons of government, right now what you're seeing is the almighty powerful hand of God withdrawing his protection from this great nation. Let me explain. So if you remember, like I do, after we invaded Iraq, you know, first of all, there's a lot that we can say about that, but we came up with a lot of excuses of why we had, you know, our towers come down because of Al-Qaeda, and, you know, building 7 with it, right? Because of Al-Qaeda. And so what do? We immediately launch war against Iraq. Doesn't make sense, but whatever, that's a different rant. So I'm going somewhere with this, and it's very important for us to understand, because I think this is the greatest threat to our nation. So right after this massive attack on our soil with 9/11, we go to war with a country that wasn't even involved, Iraq. They had weapons of mass destruction. Well, whatever. We go there, we topple Saddam Hussein and his dictatorial government, and oh wow, good job, America. Except as you look back at, as time will tell, what did we do? We were trying to stabilize the Middle East, and we destabilized the Middle East. So what we did right after the aftermath, after the shock and awe campaign of all of our mighty bombs that just rained down from heaven, we went in and we tried to install our constitutional government to the government of Iraq. What happened? Saddam Hussein was dead, so all we have to do is give them basically our constitution, and everything's fine. But it didn't work. It was a massive failure. Iraq was completely destabilized. Our new form of government was a complete flop. George Bush's approval rating, at the time, I thought everyone was being kind of mean to him. And as I look back, I'm like, he didn't deserve a good approval rating. Because what happened? We tried to give them our constitutional government. I mean, it was written differently, but it's basically the same thing. And it failed. So a very impressive thinker called Clayton Christensen, you got to go look this up, but he gave a lecture and gave these thoughts that the reason it failed is because they did not have the Judeo-Christian values required for a constitution like ours to succeed. Meaning we gave them a constitution very similar to what we have, but they did not have the values that could sustain such a constitution. And so it failed. And so for years and years, that whole place was struggling because that constitution couldn't take root. All right. Well, let's juxtapose that onto our current situation. If there is some global world agenda to bring down America, if you want America to be on its knees, because if you want one world governance, obviously you've got to take out the big super players that would stop such a thing from happening, right? Well, how do you take down America? Now, there's a threat on our inflation, on our infrastructure. There's threats on our food supply. There's threats with geopolitics. There's threats with having literally the most inept, incompetent American government in the history of our nation. But I think that the biggest threat to America in 2024 is our moral decline. Think about it. If the lack of Judeo-Christian morality in Iraq made it so they couldn't grasp hold of constitutional government, what will the declining and lack of moral governance and values with the American people do to the American government that was set up in God we trust, in one nation under God? Because that's where we're at. America is in decline because our values and our morality is in decline. And if I were the devil, this is exactly how I'd do it. I would attack the family. I would attack gender. I would attack sexuality. I would attack anything that is taught in the good book. So this is my warning to you. You all have preps. You all have homesteads. Why do we do it? We do it because we know that the people who are leading this country seem to be more and more godless. To declare Easter a day of visibility for some social issue, an issue which will be very offensive, obviously, to some Christians, but to do it on that one day when there's 364 other days is an outrage. My assumption is that most of us as Christians will be quiet. That in our apathy, in our sleep, our slumber that we're in, we won't rise up and we won't say anything. And you know what that means? That we get the government we deserve. Our forefathers created the greatest country on earth because they had Judeo-Christian values and because they had grit and they had resolve to fight against the tyranny of King George and declare that this nation be one nation under God, and it be a nation of free speech, and it be a nation of freedom of expression and freedom of religion. And as you look at the different algorithms on all these different platforms, are they giving you that? So we had forebears that created and demanded and went to war for that, and we cannot even preside over the greatest amount of blessings and the greatest government ever inherited to a group of people, but we're asleep. As Christians, we are asleep. Now, this isn't just a message for Christians. This is a message for all of us. United, we can do something about it. Divided, we will fall. Unfortunately, I think that our trajectory is one of absolute decline. Maybe there can be a miracle, but the miracle will only come if we ask for it, if we want it. And a God in heaven who respects at the utmost the agency of us, his children, is not going to force his morality upon us. We have the choice to stand up for these essential values of morality, or we can do what we're doing now, which is we're trading the lesser values of kindness and softness and amicability. We're trading those lesser values for the values of God. We should do it reverse. We should put God's truth and hold them sacred and immovable, while also being kind and Christian-like and loving your neighbor feeding the fatherless and providing for the widow. Because his religion is one that will be very kind to people who think and act and look differently than you anyway. But the satanic perversion of that is that for you to be kind and whatever is that you Christians have to move away from your values. And that is a satanic lie. That is the lie that America is caught in. You know, I look back here at these old farm implements. I'm out here at my ranch, and you know, our towns and our cities and our roads and our bridges, they came from a group of people who were hard workers, and they had a Christian moral ethic. And as we go from that, you cannot expect to have the same blessings that they had when we are not doing the moral work nor the physical work that they did. It's stupid to assume that we're just going to maintain what they built when we are becoming less and less like them. Our ancestors would be appalled at what we have done to this great nation. So today, Saturday, yeah, it's a day we're going to throw eggs around and the Easter bunny might come and all that good stuff. But you know what's going to happen tomorrow? You know, tonight after we're done with our last barbecue, that's Saturday night, then we'll travel home late and we'll get home so that tomorrow we can go to church. And tomorrow we can open up the good book. We can read in the Bible. We can tell our kids what Easter is really about. And it has nothing to do with the White House nor all these political stupid movements and meanderings. It has nothing to do with bunnies and has nothing to do with eggs. You know, each day this week, from starting with last Sunday, Palm Sunday, and then Holy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have been reviewing with our kids every day the last, you know, what Jesus's last day on earth was and what he did. You know what he did Monday? Monday, he goes to the temple and he sees that the whole situation was in disarray, and with righteous indignation, he throws over the tables and he gets the money chambers and he pushes them right out. You have made this a den of thieves. Well, that's what we've done to America. I'm afraid we are not going to follow the holy example and clean it up because we're too asleep. So my last point with this video is that you better be doing something in your homes and in your lives, because you can. You can open the good book today and you can perpetuate the great moral values that made this country great, the great Judeo-Christian values, which has blessed humanity for over 2,000 years, and even before that, because the God of the Old Testament gave some pretty good words of advice as well. But if we don't bring the word into ourselves and into our kids, then what hope do we have? I no longer look to the politicians for a solution for my homestead. I'm looking to my God, and as a family, we are going to cling to his holy word and to the resurrection and to the power that comes from that. But knowing that we're going to have to seek his help on a more familial and individual level, because the politicians aren't going to get the memo. So of all these things that are happening, the moral decline is the greatest, and it's the greatest threat to your homestead. It's the greatest threat to the supply chain, to the stability of nations, to the wars and the rumors of wars and the complexities and the principalities that are to come. It's all going to be a result of the disintegration of the family and the disintegration of moral values. It's what it is. Prepare accordingly. We'll see you next video on the homestead. Remember, if you're prepared, you shall not fear, but you got to come up with your own plan.